I want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast. Set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a day
nice
money
run.
lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
My 10-minute dummy roping drill. So the older I've gotten, the more my shoulder doesn't really allow for me to try to torture it like I did when I was a young kid and rope for hours on end. You know, back in my day when I was grinding and making sure that, you know, first enter, last leave, you know, all that stuff, or if it was a rain day, I'm like, all right, today I slap 3 ropes down and 2 roping gloves, and like I'm not stopping until I wear, you know, all these things out on the dummy, you know, be out there for 8 hours, and then golly, can't hardly pick my arm up for days after that and stuff. And then I'm really appreciating those days now, especially when I'm trying to sleep and I can't lay on one side because my shoulder's just that way, you know, from just basically torturing it. Besides practicing proper technique, that's your main thing you're after. But once you've developed that, now it's important to kind of move things around a little bit. And so I'll do a 10-minute drill. And what that helps is, for one, it's not so hard on your shoulder. And another thing is you can do it 3 times a day. I've found that I've gotten better practice in 10 minutes 3 times a day than a lot of times if I'll rope that dummy for 30 minutes. And so what I'll do in that 10-minute drill is I'll work on a few different angles. And so for the first 3 minutes, I'm going to rope that dummy just like I'm high team back, and all I got to do is catch. You know where you're at in the, you know, as you're getting your first swing up, lane, where your position is, where you can find your swing, your delivery, pull your slack, and visualize yourself high team back, and all you got to do is catch. And it's like each one of those shots where you're slowing it down, maybe about half speed. And so you can average usually right around 3 to 4 loops a minute. So for 3 minutes, practice basically your foundation. Work on getting between, 9 to 12 loops, just focusing on setting up the run, high team back, all you got to do is catch. And so that way that's there. That's basically your free throw shot. Because I think of when you're high team back and all you got to do is catch, you got to know where your spot is, where you know you can catch from. No different than if you're playing basketball and you get fouled and there's less than a second left on the clock and you're down by 1. You need to drain both free throws to win the game. Same thing, you're high team back at a jackpot, you need both horns to turn the steer to give yourself a chance to win. So you got to know where that spot is. Now let's move it around a little bit. Now for 2 minutes, get you between 6 to 8 head loops where maybe you get too tight to the steer, maybe you're almost behind the steer. Get to where you can throw different loops now, because the steer's not always going to be in the right spot. So now what happens if the steer steps into you or your horse gets too far in behind? Now can you catch the steer at a different angle when the steer's a little bit more under your horse's nose? For 2 minutes, get between 6 to 8 loops a little bit tight. Now you're up to 5 minutes. So now for 2 minutes, now practice roping a little bit wide. Maybe your heeler misses the haze on a World Series barrier. He has a heeling barrier. Maybe he misses the haze, steer goes off to the right. Maybe your horse widens and stays wide. So rope pretty wide. Rope out there a pretty good ways. It's a different swing. It's a different delivery. Those are things that can happen. And so get you 6 to 8 loops, being a little wide off to the left. Work on changing that swing and changing your delivery. So then now you're up to 7 minutes. So now for 1 minute, now what happens if the steer slows down or if your horse runs past position? So now walk past position and get pretty dang close to the steer. Now can you rope with the steer underneath of you? I've seen that a bunch at World Series ropings where guys get a really good start on a slower steer and their horse goes past position and they got to be able to learn how to rope closer. See a lot of split horns that way. Got to learn how to basically make those layup shots compared to a fadeaway or a jump shot, three-pointer, free throw, all those different basketball shots you play in during basketball. You got to move around the court to make all those shots. Well, same thing with the steer. You got to learn how to put those horns in different spots where you know how to catch them in every different way you can. So now you're up to 8 minutes. So now for another 1 minute, now practice getting 3 or 4 loops in from a coil back. Work on your range. Work on your, kind of your 3-point shot or your on the top of the key shot, whatever we want to call it. But now maybe you're kind of 20th back in the short round. You got to make a fast run. Or maybe you're out late and the back end's coming. Maybe you're a 4 or a 4E. You're trying to work on your long game a little bit. So get you 3 to 4 loops where you're able to learn how to drop a coil and reach a little further. Now you're up to 9 minutes. Now that very last minute, what are the goals for this year? What are you roping towards? Is it your first jackpot? Is it for your first buckle? Is it for your first saddle, truck trailer, World Series finals, whatever it is? Most of those ropings are forehead. So visualize yourself there. Hear your name being called for the first time. The World Series finals in Vegas, they got white walls with, I think, red wrapping around it. Area World Series champion team roping, whatever it's called. Visualize yourself being there. Hear the slot machines going off in the background. Maybe your buddy come to watch you at the rope and he's drunk, falling down the stairs. Whatever it is, it kind of like can get you off your game. Find out what that is. And then that last minute, it's a forehead jackpot. Put yourself in that scenario. Hear your name being called. First round. All right, got that one down. All right, second round. All right, got that one down. Ooh, the third round. Ooh, the one right before the short round. Oh, I got a chance to make a short round. I got a chance to win $100. Does that tighten you up? Okay, now the short round. Oh my gosh, I've got a chance to win $150,000 right here. This day and age, that's a new truck and a tank of fuel. That's life changing. And so visualize what you would do with all that money. And now are you still able to block out the noise and go make your run? Because what I've seen a lot of times, guys, they tell me is they'll call me later and go, gosh, dang it, that 10-minute drill got me. I missed the third one. That's the same one I missed at the jackpot, the one right before the short round. Or they'll call me and say, hey, oh my gosh, I literally put my dummy in the back of my truck, my work truck, and I put my rope in the passenger seat and took that thing to work with me because I missed the dang short round steer at home. You can practice this before you go to work. Heck, you can take the dummy with you to work. Rope it during lunch and then maybe before dinner. But if you miss, you're done. That way it gets you back out there and doing it again. Find out to where does your mind go? And you got to be able to make sure that when you're high team back and you're in those situations, you know how to finish. And so those are some of the cheapest jackpots you can enter. And so try that 10-minute drill and see if it doesn't help you right there, making sure that no matter what that steer's at, no matter where the horns are at, you can finish.